back to the Plunder Den. In this week's episode, we're going to be building another Pirates of the Caribbean inspired piece of terrain, the Pirate Warning Island. So I've been kind of wanting to do this project for some time, and I kind of say that every episode. I have so many projects in the back burner, I lose track of them. But as this recent trip to Adepticon inspired me to go ahead with this project, essentially from this crate I got. This is Mantic Games gave this crate out in the swag bag that I got at Adepticon. And in here was all sorts of bits from their different crates. So there's some fantasy stuff in there. But what I was drawn to is they had a dungeon bits in there. Like for torture devices and stuff like that. So they had this kind of hanging Iron Maiden kind of cage that they would have executed pirates in the golden age of piracy. So I thought, this is perfect. And it also had a little crow in it. So it kind of added little extra details to my island. So I thought this is a great opportunity to build that island. I also got some tufts and flocking while I was at Adepticon, and I incorporated that in this project as well. And as I mentioned in the last episode, my Amazon trees finally arrived. So I got a nice variety of palm trees, and I thought this is the perfect time to go ahead with this project. So let's take a look at it. This is the finished product. You see I got my sign there, Pirates, ye be warned. And this is not exactly the same as the Pirates of the Caribbean one. That one was kind of like a black island, similar shape. It had 3 pirates, I believe, hanging just by rope, but very similar sign and similar concept, and that's really what I was trying to capture in this piece. I just want to talk a little quickly about the river. Or it's not a river; it's really the ocean between the rocks. Water effects. So we're going to spend some time doing that in this episode. Now, I'd done that in a previous episode, but I actually kind of made a mistake on that one, and I learned something from that helped me do this one. And I'll explain that more in when we get down to the table there. So anyways, let's take a quick look around the entire piece. There we go. And that's what we're going to be building in this episode. All right. But before we get down to the table, I just briefly want to talk about the Great Pirate Paint-Off that's happening till May 14th. So you still got some time to submit entries into this competition and win some sweet prizes. So head on over to the Blood and Pigment page. I'll put the link in the description below so you guys can find your way there. He has all the details on that page and the links to submit your entries, essentially. And I also want to talk about my portion of it. So I was going to have a special terrain competition going on my channel incorporated into that painting competition. And I'll just give you the details of that today. So essentially, we're going to be building a farmhouse, which I built out of materials that you could find pretty well anywhere. I wanted to make it fair for anybody. You could find it in Europe, you could find it in Deep South, you could find it in the cold climate. So that means there's no insulation foam involved in this one, but a lot more simple materials like a cereal box and popsicle sticks and stuff like that. They're real simple that people can slap together. And then we'll do I'm going to do it on the next week's episode. I'm going to build it, and so you guys have an idea of how I put it together. Then I'll just have you guys recreate it and send the entries in. Now you can just post pictures on Instagram and just tag me in it, the Plunder Den, or put it on my Facebook page, the Plunder Den, or just put it on the Blood and Plunder page, the main page there. Anywhere you want to submit it, just tag me in it, and I will take a look at it, and we'll do, as a group, we'll decide who's got the best entry, and then to win my version of it with some stone walls, and then just kind of make kind of a little farmstead for the winner. All right, so that's pretty much it for that. If everybody likes what we're doing here in the Plunder Den, make sure you smash that like button and consider subscribing to the Plunder Den and get first-hand information when I start these kind of projects. All right, everyone, let's get on the table and let's start painting and let's start crafting. Alright, so let's take a look at a few things that I have for this project. This is the Mantic box I got from the Adepticon swag bag. Now, you could just order the dungeon crate on its own and get these bits in it. This is the crow, and this is that Iron Maiden cage I was kind of talking about. Now, in that dungeon kit, there's all sorts of other torture devices, and there's a whole bunch of really cool things in there, other than just those two things. So this is a sprue. I just needed a casualty marker that I'm going to put into the cage. You could find all sorts of different miniatures or casualty markers or whatever you want to put in there. Some crafting wire. We got some of that willow fencing. Just some hobby stones. Balsa wood. These are flat pieces of balsa wood. We got some popsicle sticks. And a bunch of Amazon trees, coffee stir sticks. I got my bags of trees that came in. And then some of this new scatter terrain that I got, the tufts and the flocking, and some Battleground, that's Army Painter stuff. Dollar store foam board, insulation foam. I needed some of that for this project. Unfortunately, I only have the 1/2 inch. Normally, I would say go for like a 1 inch or something that's a little thicker. But I made do. So first thing is I cut the round shape of how I want the island to look. Roughly cut out the bases of the archway. And I just roughly cut this out with a box cutter. And just kind of see if it's the right size. Everything looks good. And I just kind of, I'm going to bulk up the side. So, of course, my lovely 1/2 inch foam is not thick enough. So I'm going to have to thicken it up with some other pieces. And start out by painting the base black. So let's take a look more at the foam here. So I've made kind of a duplication of it just to give it a little more thickness. I altered the shape a little bit, you can see on the bottom, just to make some point of interest. I want to make it a little skinnier on the one side. And I'm just using tacky glue to glue them together. And you can see I've sanded the bottom 2 foots just to make it look a little more like stone. And I use some tin foil ball to give it some texture. So to give it a little more strength, I put in some bits of these barbecue skewers. Just so when I glue it together, I get kind of like a support inside of it, just to give it a little more strength on these pieces. And I also plan on piercing the bottom too before I put them on these 2 feet that I built here. So after that's dried, and now I'm moving to gluing the feet together with the top that I've kind of thickened up a little bit. I got it freestanding. I added that, you can see some trim to the outside, slowly covering it. Here's more further along. I've already glued it now in place. As you can see, it's a little sturdier. And I'm starting to bulk up the sides. And I'm just cutting out chunks, as you can see here, sanding them and texturalizing them with that tinfoil ball, just to give it a stone feel. So now that I'm done, thickening the walls up, I'm going to move to the stones that are along the base. Kind of want to make it like my my stone walls, or the sea walls that I built in the previous episode. So just cut them in chunks, stick them all in the coffee tin, shake it around for 4 minutes with those rocks, and then just kind of glue them in place afterwards. So you can see this is what they look like after I've tumbled them all. Just enough to cut the edges off, and you can always go back with a tinfoil ball afterwards if you want to add more texture. If you didn't, because I just really wanted to smooth the corners with those rocks. And then I always add a few real rocks in there just to give it a little more weight to the bottom. You don't have to put a whole bunch and get crazy on it, just a few. So this is after I've added it on there. You can see I've got some real stones in there, my fake stones in there. Got a nice thickness to everything. Now, don't worry too much about, it looks like 3 or 4 pieces together. We're going to cover that with drywall compound and kind of fill in the gaps, and so it doesn't look like that. Now, if I had thicker foam, it would have been a little bit easier, but I didn't, so whatever. That's fine. You can just add layers on it, just an extra step. So I'm just showing you I'm going to sand and texturalize everything else, trim it all up, and I kind of wanted an idea of like having a big timber holding up this rock kind of, and then have that other piece where the actual Iron Maiden kind of thing is going to hang off of. I should really get the name of that thing. I don't think it's called an Iron Maiden thing. But that's what they executed. They just hung them in there. It's kind of like the gallows, but in this cage here. So I'm just making sure everything measures out good. I always stop and reassess and make sure everything is the right scale, right size, before I get too far along and I have to change it. So then I decided to add a little dock to it. I like docks. You know me. I like to add docks to everything. Just so you could play on this, really. You could have a ship come up to there and put some people, pirates or whatever, on that dock. And then I'm just showing you I'm going to use that drywall compound to fill in some of these cracks and, of course, start making the water feature. So I really make it kind of stick up a little bit when I apply that. So it's because it's a flat surface, right? You want to make it look like there's swirling water and stuff happening underneath. So this is in fast time. I just got that little putty knife that I got there. I think I got this in like a dollar store painting crafting kit. Works great for applying the drywall compound. I just want to get a little bit of details in there. I just kind of sped it up because this is not exactly the most glamorous and exciting part of the job. But you can see I've kind of applied it in all sorts of different spots. I left some of the cracks open because there would be cracks in the rock itself. And then anything I didn't really like, I could just always sand it off if I needed to. And then, of course, cover the whole piece in black craft paint. I haven't put the top of the dock on yet because I want to paint underneath it first. So I lay the black down first. So while that's drying, I moved on to preparing my palm trees. So I've discussed this in other episodes. When you get palm trees like this, they look really like plastic. Because they are plastic. But we want to make them look a little more realistic. So I want to get rid of these lovely mold lines they have on them. And some of them you can get rid of the mold lines, and sometimes they're really difficult to get rid of. And then we're going to paint them all. Mainly just the stems with black craft paint. I trimmed the leaves as well because some of them have just excess plastic on it. So I just trimmed them up so they look a little bit better. Just trying to get rid of the evidence of it to be a plastic miniature. So that's after I'm done, and I'm just priming the pirate that I plan on using. I had to cut his arms up a little bit just so he fits actually in that cage. It's a little narrower, but so I had to... It looks like he's got a broken arm, but but it'll fit in there nicely into the cage. So I just snipped the bottom of the cage off. I also wanted to look like kind of bent cage and stuff at my final project here. So I kind of snipped the bottom off and everything fits in there nicely. Of course, I'm going to glue that back together when I'm done, but I want to paint it first before I put it all together. So you can see everything's dry here now on the rest of the piece. Everything looks good. And we really have to address the top of the dock. So back to my tried true popsicle sticks, break the one end with my little plier things there, and then add texture with the hobby knife. And there you go. I made a little railing there out of that willow fencing. I did add some details of the hobby wire to like rope on there as well. You can just zoom in there a little bit better. And then I, of course, went back and I did another coat of black paint, kind of just hitting all the areas I missed the first time. And then, of course, got the dock as well. And then just showing you the crow I've also primed. I'm kind of deciding where I'm going to stick it, where it fits on there. But I'll get back to those later. I'm going to start by painting this. So, real brown, standard color I start with. I'm just going to show you briefly how I apply it. Of course, it's fast-forwarded. But there's lots of videos, especially the stonework video, if you want to see more of how I do that. I actually show that in real time, so you get to see how I apply the paint. So this is after I've added all the real brown. Let's take a little peek-see around, see what it looks like. And, I've done this with almost all my terrain projects. So now moving over to the bark brown, and we're going to hit it with that lighter color. starting to give you that nice muddy feel, earth tones in there. And I forgot to mention that we need to do the real brown and the bark brown on the tree stems too. So we're going to do those as we go along here as well. So I haven't touched the leaves yet. We'll get to those in a minute, but we're just going to do the stems right now. So all the browns. This is after we've completed all the tree stems, and now we're going to move to the Pablo, another color that I use in my base colors. So it's kind of a brighter orange, but it also expands on that muddy feel to things and more earth tones, as you can see here. So I'm just showing you after I've completed all that, everything looks good. Kind of went everywhere with it. And I lighten the middle of the docks as I usually do, hit the stems, and now we're moving into the camel. Camel's the first color I really use for rocks, but I also use it on the stems of these palm trees. It has more of a really light beige color of palm trees in real life. That's what color the bark is. So you can see after I painted that, moved to the, and I kind of added it to the stonework, and you can see on the ropes on the docks. And now we're going to paint the docks itself. So that real brown and yellow ochre combination that I've done for a lot of my docks. I start with the mixture of them together and then go right to straight yellow ochre to get it going. So just showing you the palm trees. I'm going to add a little bit of these other colors. So we got desert yellow, skeleton bone, mummy robe, and necrotic flesh as my stone colors that I plan on adding to everything. And then we got hardened leather, dark wood, and then we got skeleton horde, sterling mud, Cyprian sepia. I never say that one right. And Ajax Earthshader is the one I forgot while rummaging through those. I had sped it up a little bit because it's not very interesting to watch me show you all the bottles of paint, but I just wanted to make sure I get all the names. So this is after I added all the washes and the paints. That's what it looks like now. Now we're going to address the plant life. So we got angel green, commando green, jungle green, and that demonic yellow. And that's where we're going to hit the leaves with. So we're going to paint over with them. Start with the dark, go my way to light, and highlight those trees, and also add some of that commando green and jungle green to add a little like there's plant life on these stones. So we're adding some basic colors to it already. You know, you could leave it like this if you didn't want to add any more to it, but I want to go a few steps further. So now we want to address the blue. We got that Vanish Shield blue, Hydra, some commando green to get a little more, and then just ultramarine, like a darker blue. So really what I'm going to try to do is the darker color to the center, and then lighter blues as they go out. And then we got some plate metal, we got greedy gold, and some dry rust, and of course skeleton horde and Ajax Earthshader. That's going to make the old metallic metal look. So you can see how I did the light to dark. So I started with the dark colors and added to light, and added that green just to give it some earth tones underneath it. So now that we have our base colors, we're going to add the resin to the top. So really what I'm going to do is just do little droplets, as you can see here. And this is what I'm talking about, what I learned from the other one, is you don't need much. If you add all the undertones of the blues underneath and the greens and stuff, and you just spread this lightly over top of it. Now you want to cover everything, and maybe you want to have it darker in other areas. And I did add a couple more droplets as I went along because I couldn't spread it out far enough. But this is what I mean. You don't need to add the shields and stuff like that and get pretty good water effect. I mean, if you want really big depths to it, then you might want to do that. But I'm really happy how just adding that little bit to the top and brushing it on, and those undertones underneath with that drywall compound texture. I was really happy with the results of that, and plan on using that for river tiles and other stuff in the future. So here is the sign I'm making. This is just flat balsa wood. I chipped the ends off to look like the one in the Pirates of the Caribbean movie. And just going to put my little warning sign together there. There's our miniature. I got to paint him up. And then of course, I got to paint the crow as well. I just give it a little bit of black primer on that one. And I got this Turbo Dork at Adepticon. It's apparently the color of Adepticon. It's a con exclusive. So it's actually just kind of an orange-red. And I added it to the pirate. Why not? I got that color and figured I'd just add it in there. So I didn't spend a lot of time painting this. I just put some basic colors down, really, and just added some Agrax Earth Shader on top of it, just to give it a dinginess. But I used necrotic flesh for the color of his skin, so he looks like he's, you know, deceased. Not much life left in this pirate. And you can see I've added all that rust and stuff to the metal. I kind of just dry brushed a little bit of lighter gray on top of the, just so you can see the wing details. And I put red eyes on the crow. Just to give some interest to it. And then I just used some miniature glue here and just kind of glued everything together. I ended up hot gluing that sign to it, as well as the crow. Now, as far as the cage, I just put it together with the plastic glue there, the tester's glue. And then I got some of that hobby chain that I usually use from Michaels, and just going to wrap it around that timber up there and just hot glue it on. And I ran it through the loop on the top. I had to widen that loop a little bit with a box cutter to fit the chain, but I got it to fit. So everything seems to be in place, and now it's time to add foliage, like the plant life, to it. So our trees are all prepped and ready to roll. I added a little bit of gravel, not a whole lot. I added mostly the static grass, tried this new static grass from a Huge Miniatures, and assorted other stuff that I picked up. So you got some lots of different varieties of tufts. And then, of course, I used some titanium white, just to add the splashing of the water on there. Now, I used craft paint because it's shiny. Didn't want a flat matte paint in there. You want it to look like it's wet. All right, so let's take a look through the battlefield and head over to the Pirate Warning Island, all complete. Really happy with that water feature. It came out fantastic. And I can't wait to make some river tiles. I think that technique will work fantastic. So we're going to take the long way around the table and go through this kind of town that I put together. It could be Port Royal or whatever you want to call it, but I just wanted to have a little bit of port where this Pirate Warning Island is trying to ward off the pirates. But as you can see at the beginning of the battle map, the pirates are coming anyways. It's not working. But it's definitely an interesting piece just to add. I would say add more flavor to the table, just add a little bit more excitement. And these are the kind of pieces that makes your table really interesting and fun to play on. Gives the other players options too, right? Well, maybe my ship's sinking and I need to get to this Pirate Warning Island and do my last defense on the docks here. But anyways, this was a lot of fun to build this project. I remember next week I'm going to be building that speed build on that simple farmhouse for the painting competition. All right, that's a wrap on this project. I really enjoyed building this. Thank you everybody so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.